Hi, this is Lexus Bill, host of Drive Time on Joy 99.7 FM. Listen, you don't have to worry if you miss Drive Time or Personality Profile. It's going to be live on our podcast page. Just log on to www.myjoyonline.com/podcast. You can listen to Drive Time, Personality Profile, and any other of your favorite shows on Joy FM on that page. You don't have to miss a show at all. Joy 99.7 FM, radio for discerning listeners.
Let's start this bulletin from the north, where torrential rains have left parts of the region submerged. The downpour, which lasted for about 3 hours yesterday, left scores of people trapped in their homes for hours. It took a joint team of personnel of the National Disaster Management Organization and the Ghana Fire Service to rescue some of them. This morning, there are fears by some residents that their situation may be aggravated should Burkina Bay authorities go ahead with their planned spillage of the Bugri Dam. We'll take you there live and speak to our correspondents. But first, let's bring back a report filed by my colleague Martina Bugri, who was also affected by the rains.
Of daring residents who waded through the flood waters to safer areas in their neighborhood. Residents say massive efforts was put in by the fire service to rescue some residents who were trapped in their homes.
Yes, we were compelled to invite Ghana National Fire Service to come to our favor, or else we could have been able to rescue people from their homes, including children, adults. Look at that house standing over there, full of adults. They couldn't be able to come out. We were compelled to invite fire service together with NADMO to come and help us save lives. And indeed, they have done it. We were able to rescue. They swam up to that house and rescue all those people.
How many people did they rescue?
6 people and about 4 children. Well, it took them time because they needed to make risk assessments, which way they can use to get into the main homes so they can get the people. Getting the right path into the houses was very difficult. It took them time. So they have to race and then just get a search and then manage and get to the house.
A house collapsed in the Four neighborhood whilst motorbikes were swept away. A commuter said he was almost swept off by the flood waters too. Some residents called on government to intervene.
Yes, today is my first time. That's my route. I'm working down there. Since this is my first time, I didn't see some before on this road. So I crossed first bridge, that was the second bridge. So I reached the middle and I saw that the rain want to push me inside the hole. So I returned back that I should come back and come and wait here. So after the rain, the erosion go down, so that I continue my journey.
It's not be easy because as of today, none of us can go to Tamale. Any attempt, you may even lose your life. As we can see evidence I think the incumbent MP house has been flooded. Mutoki, former MP for Damangu, the house has been flooded. And so many houses, we can talk of thousands of houses, has been got stranded. They can't even come out of their houses. So we are actually pleading for government intervention.
For Mr. Dan and Mr. Mumini Zakaria, they want government investigate engineers who supervised the construction of a bridge 2 months ago they believe triggered the heavy floods this afternoon.
Bridge constructed not less than 6 months now. In fact, look at the flooding there. When they were even working on it, we asked them to make sure the gravel goes up. But now they have just wasted government money because now when you come to see the place, the one bridge alone cannot serve the route. People have blocked up the other side and the other side again. A lot of people have blocked up. So what we need is that the government should come out and make sure any engineer who supervises work and the work doesn't go proper, they should query him. Other than that, Ghana will never develop. We are just wasting government money.
Three solid bridges. It takes the water from Garaba Lodge, it takes water from Agric, it takes water from community and other link roads. Now this small bridge, how can it contain the water? We're just lucky that the rain has subsided. Assuming it continues. Now people's homes are submerged. That's submerged in water. You know, so it's time government make sure that when they are allocating or they are giving projects, they make sure the right person gets the project and do a proper job so that at the end it will save Ghana a lot of money. But if you do shoddy work, it is our money they will use to pay them, and then the next moment we have to call for another project. It doesn't make sense.
And even as residents count their losses this morning, the Ghana Meteorological Agency is warning of more rains ahead as they urge residents to brace themselves. Joshua Asamoah speaks for the agency.
What makes Tamale's case peculiar is that the storm stagnated over that area for a very long time before it drifted to the Upper West and Savannah regions. So the heavy rains they had was because of the stagnation of the storm, which affected the northern portions of the country over Tamale and more areas in the northern region before it went to the Savannah and Upper West regions. So it's conditions that they will be experiencing because they are still in the rainy season over the northern portions. So it's not really an odd situation. But I think just like the man on the ground said, there are some factors that are local and activities by man which will cause some of these flooding events to occur. But the rainfall that occurred was not really out of the ordinary.
Now, before the northern region of Tamale had its rain yesterday, we've had some rain as well in the Upper West region where we saw some roads and all that damaged. Would you say it still has to do with the rainy season because the rains were quite heavy?
Yes, it still has to do with the rainy season. The rainy season, Northern Ghana has one rainy season. So it starts somewhere in June, July, there, and then goes all the way to September before it subsides, and then they enter into the dry season. But for us in the south, we get two rainy seasons. The major one will come in April, May, June, and then we'll get a break around July, August before we enter into the minor rainy season in September, October, and November. So before we will enter into our minor rainy season, the north will continue to be experiencing some of these rains. And then the Upper West rains came in August, which is still the peak of the rainfall season in the northern sector. So it's still the rains they are getting because they are in their peak rainfall season. It's nothing really. It's very likely we'll get another rainstorm this week. Hopefully between Wednesday and Thursday.
Despite fears from some residents that their situation may be aggravated should Burkinabe authorities go ahead with their planned spillage of the Bugri Dam, NADMO says they are well prepared to cushion the impact of the spillage should it happen. Northern Regional Director Al-Hassan John Kweku gave this assurance on the AM show.
We are still in the midst of the rains, and then the education too is ongoing. So we are appealing to residents, especially those of our people who are living in those areas that are likely to be affected and the flood-prone areas, to be cautious about their own life, because it is important they take their lives very seriously so that we don't lose any life longer. For instance, in the Chelponi area, there was a situation where some 3 young ladies went to do washing in a stream. And then after they have done the washing, then they decided to swim, and then the water carried them away. And then in Bumpuru, for instance, a woman and the daughter went to farm, and then on their return, there was heavy downpour. Instead of them to stay at a particular place for the water to recede in the river before they cross, they attempted crossing, and the water carried them away. So we are just appealing to residents. Water is not something that we can be playing with. So when it is raining, you get a place to stay so that when the water recedes, then you can go about your normal work. But for now, in the East region, even though it is raining in Gambaga, the situation is under control. NADMO is positioning itself strategically to deal with any situation that will arrive as a result of this. But the impact, the spillage has not been done yet. And we are monitoring the situation. As and when we get any other information, then we'll share with you.
Okay, so let's touch base with our Northern Regional Correspondent, Martina Bugri, who was also affected by the rains. She joins us on the phone. Good morning, Martina.
Hi, good morning.
Okay, so what's the situation at Tamale this morning?
This morning, the water is treated, especially on the main road and then in drains. You can see there's some water passing through, but the farms are still flooded, and so the crops are under water. Homes that were flooded to the water is gone, and just a few people, as at the time I was leaving the community, had arrived back home because most of them slept elsewhere, and they had to seek shelter elsewhere because their homes were places they couldn't inhabit. And so right now, as we speak, just a few had come back. I met a couple, an elderly couple who said they slept in town and came in the night, noticed that the water had seeded, and they tried to do the cleaning, but it was a bit too late for them, so they had to go to sleep. And after the time I got there, they were up and about to start cleaning. But several homes yet are still to return to their base, and so you go to the gate and it's locked and no one is inside. Basically, it's been cloudy intermittently. We have had some few rains, but not as heavy as it happened yesterday. And people are just hoping that the rains do not come heavy today. If not, it probably will be serious like yesterday.
So a lot of the residents have not been able to access their homes yet.
Yes, I knocked on more than 4 gates, and they were all locked. No one was inside. But you peep through and notice that the place is eventually locked and no one is inside. And there's a guest house around there, which the water entered through. They had to rescue some people around those areas. That place, you can't even enter because there's no water in there. And there's a shop where they sell farm produce, especially fertilizer. It's also still locked. I mean, yesterday the water went through all those places. And so it was really a heavy one. And it might take a while before people would come back to home.
Okay, so the Ghana Meteorological, they are saying, GMET is saying that there's going to be some more rain starting from Thursday, so Thursday, Friday. What's happening in the region in terms of preparations towards that? How do you feel like the residents are going to get ready to be able to deal with more rain starting from Thursday?
Well, you speak to people and they really have thrown their hands in despair. They think that the drainage system in the whole town needs to be looked at again because they think there's a growing population and little is being done to improve the drainage system. And so they think yesterday's flood, if something major had been done on that part of that area, it could have averted a lot of the floods that happened. And so they are hoping that the authorities will begin going through these places to have a feel of the activities that go on in these areas themselves, and then they can advise government to have a better plan, especially when it comes to drainage in the metropolis.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Martina, and do stay safe out there. But let's move to the Ashanti region now, where some parts of Kumasi also is flooded following a heavy downpour. Nanai Jima is on that beat, and he joins us now on Zoom. Hello, Nanai.
Hello, Nimwa.
Okay, so what's happening in Kumasi? Tell us about, the rains from yesterday and what things look like today as well.
So yesterday we had about 2 hours of downpour, and the meteorological agency is describing it as a heavy downpour. And afterwards, we had some parts of the region flooding, including the central business district, that's Edum and its environs. The whole area was flooded. A lot of traders were stranded after the flood. We also had parts of Atunsu where there is some construction ongoing, road construction ongoing, and contractors are still working on drains in the area. We had that area also recording some floods. Parts of TUC and Daban and also Dakojum all experienced floods yesterday. We had parts of Asqua. Previously, we didn't have this area flooding, but due to the volumes of rainfall that was recorded and also the poor drainage system in the metropolis, we had this place also flooding. As usual, airport runabout and its environs are flood-prone areas, and all these areas also were flooded yesterday. And mind you, in June, we had 5 people losing their lives to floods in the Ashanti region. So this rains that we experienced yesterday made a lot of people concerned about lives that could be lost through the rain. But fortunately, this morning, we are yet to record any of such incidents. So far, city authorities have been speaking. Now, we've been asking them about what they've been doing after we recorded a heavy downpour, which resulted in deaths early this year, that's in June. The information that I have is that Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly afterwards had to form a technical committee to look at the drainage system in the Ashanti region and prefer possible solution to the problems that were experienced. Now, the technical committee has done some work in the Central Business District and bringing out new drawings for drainage in the Kumasi metropolis, mainly the Central Business District. We are yet to see any concrete work to be done, but the information I have is that these are part of steps that the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly is taking. Now, previously, we had NADMO recommending that about 100 buildings that are built in waterways be pulled down to ensure the smooth flow of water. Now, we are yet to find the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly and other assemblies that have these areas, that have such situations, take any concrete action. Now, this is the time that the Meteo Agency, speaking to Love FM this morning, are also warning that the minor rain season, which starts in September, will come with a lot of rainfalls, which will be accompanied by thunder and lightning. So there are possibilities that if no concrete measures are taken in these areas, Ashanti region will also experience floods and possibly loss of lives if the people do not take precautions as we experienced or we felt early this year, that's in June.
Right. Okay. Well, Nanai, so what's being put in place again, you know, for the expectation that there will be some more rain? The GMED said this morning that, you know, our patterns have changed, and so we're experiencing heavier rainfall around this time of the year as opposed to May, June. So what are the authorities putting in place in expectation of the rains that are definitely going to come?
So after what we experienced in June, as I said earlier, we had some desilting of drains in the Kumasi metropolis, but it seems this work that was done by the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly and other district and metropolis have not, you know, yielded any massive positive results in these areas. So the city authorities, to some extent, are sounding helpless in the particular situation that we are experiencing now. Now, what they are calling for is re-engineering of the drains in the Kumasi metropolis and parts of the Ashanti region. And at the moment, it seems the only solution is that the people in the region will have to take precautions and also ensure that they properly dump refuse and to prevent gutters and drains being choked to experience such incidents.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Nanai. We will probably talk to you in the next few days, you know, depending on what the rain situation is like. But thank you very much for joining us. Now, let's move on from rains to vaccinations. And the Ghana Health Service will, from this morning, begin administering the second doses of the AstraZeneca vaccines to nearly 250 persons who took their first jabs in March. The inoculations will take place mainly in all the 16 regions of the country where the first jabs were administered. In the Ashanti region, health officials say the exercise will begin on Wednesday, September 1st, with more than 70,000 doses allocated to the region. There's more in this report.
The Ashanti Regional Health Director, Dr. Emmanuel Kojo-Tinkran, says vaccines will be made available in coming days to those who missed the second jab.
We have been given a total of 70,300 doses of AstraZeneca, and we are going to start immunization of all those who have already taken their first dose AstraZeneca and are waiting for their second dose. So if you've taken Johnson & Johnson, or you've taken Sputnik, or you've completed your dose for AstraZeneca, or you've not been vaccinated at all, this one is not for you. We will give it to all health workers and then the general public who has been given their first dose AstraZeneca. The program is starting on the 1st of September, and we will take 5 days to finish.
Dr. Tinkran is entreating those who took the first jab of the AstraZeneca to make themselves available for the second jab to complete their vaccination.
We are encouraging everyone to take part. If you've taken your first dose, it's very, very important you take your second dose and complete. A number of people have been complaining that their second dose have delayed. And this is the time. The government has done so well to get us this vaccine. So let us take advantage and ensure that we are fully vaccinated for AstraZeneca. So when you get your second dose, that means that you've completed the dose for AstraZeneca.
Those who have misplaced their COVID vaccination card will have the opportunity to be vaccinated by providing their names and telephone numbers.
If you've lost your card, all that you need to do is to go to where you vaccinated. You mention your name and your telephone number. They will track it to see whether you've been vaccinated, and then they will give you the second dose. So don't say that you've lost your card, so you won't go for the second dose. Go to the center, mention your name and your number, your phone number. Your data will be captured and a new card will be issued to you.
Reporting for Joy News, Obidishio Freyamanfo.
What's the vaccination rollout plan, especially in the regions? Well, here is the programs manager in charge of the expanded program on immunization, Dr. Kwame Amponsa Achiano, with the details.
AstraZeneca, we've done approximately 850,000 persons, of whom a little over half have already received their second dose around somewhere in May. So we now have taken delivery of approximately 250,000 doses of AstraZeneca, and we want to continue with the second doses for those who have been waiting. So we have approximately 400,000 plus persons waiting for the second dose. So the plan is, once you get a vaccine and you look at the population, you definitely have to do a kind of equitable distribution, because the vaccines will not be enough to cover everybody at the same time. So what we've done is we've done some kind of sharing for all regions to benefit based on the data that we have. And so we've distributed our vaccines to all the 16 regions for those who have been waiting for the second dose. So that's the plan, and we're starting this week, today. First of all, you look at those that are most vulnerable. And in our case, it's the health workers. And of course, if you recall, when we first started, we also spoke of the elderly and the people with underlying conditions. So they were first taken care of when we started the vaccination exercise. And for every region, you had some number of persons within this category. So we share the vaccines first to cover some proportions of health workers and also some proportions of the general population with respect to those who are most vulnerable. And they were the ones who received the vaccines earlier on. You would also recall that when we started the second dose in May, we targeted persons who had received the vaccines from the 1st of March to the 9th of March. So it stands to reason that we just have to continue from the 10th of March. And looking at the data, when we end on the 29th, we would have dished out all the vaccines. And therefore, there will still be some almost 200,000 people who would have to get the second shot once we get vaccines next week, maximum within the next 2 weeks. We still have some vaccines in the pipeline, AstraZeneca vaccines, and even other vaccines like Martina, Pfizer, and Johnson & Johnson. But for the purpose of this discussion, I'll say that we are expecting 350,000 doses of AstraZeneca to be delivered to us within this week or next week, and then we can restart the second dose and complete it by the middle of September.
And let's do a quick update of our COVID situation. So we have 688 new cases, 7,153 active cases, cumulative confirmed cases of 118,954. Recoveries and discharges still stand at 110,776,000, and we have 1,025 deaths. That has actually gone up by 7 since this morning. So remember to stay safe out there. Wear your mask, wash your hands, and physically distance as much as you can. All right, well, let's move to Kumasi. And congestion at the wards of the Konfanotu Teaching Hospital is increasing as the facility continues to grapple with accommodation deficit for patients. Hospital authorities are looking up to the government in the release of land for expansion projects. This was revealed during the hospital's 2021 mid-year performance review conference.
Increase in road accidents and improvement in the operations of the National Ambulance Service have resulted in increased referrals to the Accident and Emergency Center at the Konfanotu Teaching Hospital. According to the Chief Executive, Dr. Hinebo Sudanso, this has led to congestion in the hospital.
The current situation is affecting patient care and subjecting members of our clinical teams to chronic stress and burnout because of the persistent overcrowded admissions. Among others, it is important for the country to strategize more effectively towards improving road safety through responsible driving and other interventions, while management reiterated the appeal for the expansion of the inpatient facilities at the hospital.
He further indicated the completion of the first phase of the Maternity and Children project will not be enough to accommodate clients. The hospital has therefore appealed to the government to speed up processes in the release of adjoining military land to expand the project.
The eventual completion of the first phase of the Maternity and Children project, currently under active construction, will not result in the provision of the much needed space to meet the needs of clients. It is in the light of this that management would like to emphasize the patriotic appeal for the processes leading to the release of additional land from the adjoining military lands to be expedited to allow for the expansion of existing facilities and the start of a number of proposed donor-partnered supported clinical projects.
Reporter for JoyNews, Kwesi Deborah.
$300,000. That's what's needed to save the eyesight of Abna Poma Asiedu. She was diagnosed with pituitary macroadenoma, a type of brain tumor which caused her to go blind in her left eye. She's also been experiencing hormonal imbalances as a result of the tumor, causing her to bleed almost every day. Her deteriorating condition needs urgent attention. My colleague, Judith Awachitando, has been following her story and comes through with this report.
We actually have a family business we set up. It's a natural fruit juice company. We started supplying, we were pushing it.
With each passing moment, Abina's eyesight grows dimmer and dimmer. She's only 30 and has a life filled with dreams ahead of her. It all started in the month of February 2021 when Abina started experiencing blurry vision. I was driving. I didn't really notice anything until I hit a taxi. Then I said, I told my cousin, I had an elder cousin, I said, I didn't see the taxi driver approaching. And everybody was like, how? Because it was coming. Several scans and MRIs revealed one of the most shocking news. Abina was diagnosed with a brain tumor. She was devastated. She said, you have a tumor in there. Then I said, okay, what kind of a tumor?
She tried to encourage me, like, oh, there's a cure, go see the neurosurgeons. They can speak more on it than I.
And for her family, the news was almost impossible to bear.
You knew her before. She's the party type, the very bubbly, and I'm always there, like whatever you want to do it. But she's always encouraging you, but it brought her spirit down and it affected everybody. If you know our team, everybody will tell you she's the bubbly one amongst us. So for me personally, it affected me because she was the one always driving me around. I'll just push the seat backwards and be like, where have you got into? Like, one time will come when you people have to take over.
She needed surgery, one that had to be conducted in the shortest possible time.
I remember I asked him, oh, I read that there's this drug that can shrink the tumor. He said, it's blinding you. Like, are you aware of what is happening? Because it's surgery that she told me. You can only be fine if we take the tumor out.
With her family's help, she had the surgery, and Abuna thought she'd get better. But results from a post-surgery scan crushed her even more.
The tumor had a measurement before surgery, and I knew the measurement. And then after surgery, there was a measurement. I looked at it, and then I pulled the old one before surgery. And it was almost the same. It was virtually the same. After dialogues with them, we agreed I get a second opinion and get a second surgery. That can kind of wipe away everything. The Well Cornell Presbyterian Hospital. They gave us a neuro, they assigned the neuro to my case. My doctor sent my scans and MRIs and everything. And then they said they could do it. Almost 300,000 USD.
She needs an emergency surgery or Abena loses her sight forever.
I've been having my menses from 8th June. They give me drugs, stopped for a day and it's back. Stopped for days and it's back. Headaches. Tumor is still there, my left eye is off and it's getting around my right eye. They call it peripherals. So when someone is actually here, I can't see. I could see. So I'm out there begging anyone to help me go through this.
All Abena wishes for is to see properly again. But she cannot do this on her own. She needs your help and she needs it urgently. Reporting for Joy News, my name is Judith Awache Tando.
And if you're moved by this story and you'd like to help, kindly send your donations to the numbers that will be displayed on the screen. The MTN Momo number is 0244 377 474, 024 437 7474. Let me take that again. Momo number 024 437 7474. The name is Abna Puma Asiedu. There's also a bank account, CalBank, West Hills branch. The account number is 14000018328842. The account name again is Abna Puma Asiedu. So do send some help Abna's way. We would be very grateful. Okay, so let's move on. And stakeholders in the artisanal fisheries across the country are calling for a new approach in the fight against the illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing in Ghana's fishing industry. Now, according to them, the recent yellow card that the European Commission issued to Ghana is a grave concern and should push the Ministry of Fisheries to advise and devise better approaches in fighting the menace. At a news conference in Winneba, the canoe and gear owners indicated they were directly affected by the decline in fish stock and would want the Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture Development to succeed, but want a holistic approach. Richard Kojo Nyako has more for us in this report.
The news conference by the Canoe and Fishing Gear Owners Association of Ghana centered on the illegal, unreported and unregulated fisheries activities and the ongoing operations to enforce the fisheries laws and regulations against it. Chairman of the Canoe and Fishing Gear Owners Association of Ghana, Nanai, implored the Fisheries and Aquaculture Ministry and then the Fisheries Commission to try other innovative means of addressing the depletion fish stocks in Ghana.
We have said earlier on, during the close season period, that the no IUU pronouncement by the ministry is a laudable one. We support it because business can no more be as usual. Our stocks are down and drastic measures has to be taken to address the problem. However, the absence of a comprehensive plan and strategies is not helpful in that regard. We have also said that over-reliance on enforcement is unsustainable. It is expensive. The challenges we are faced with is a wake-up call to relook at the approach to the fight against IUU fishing. There is the need for a comprehensive plan and strategies that focuses not only on enforcement and deterrence, but largely on compliance, which is cheaper and more sustainable.
He indicated, as key stakeholders in the artisanal fisheries, they are highly concerned about the dying state of the artisanal fisheries in the country, coupled with a recent yellow card issued by the European Commission.
We are highly concerned about the dying state of our fisheries. The recent yellow card placement by the EU Commission is equally of concern to us. It is an indication that we have not done much in combating IUU fishing. We have therefore mobilized ourselves as canoe and gear owners to effectively participate in the governance and management of our fisheries, thereby contributing to the effort by Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture Development and the Fisheries Commission towards halting and reversing the decline in our fisheries and rebuilding our stocks.
The Canoe and Fishing Gear Owners Association of Ghana is calling on the Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture Development and the Fisheries Ministry to institute quarterly meetings with them as a platform for engagement. Richard Kwejenyako, Joy News, Cape Coast.
Well, thank you, Richard, for that. And the Director General of the State Interest and Governance Authority, Stephen Asamoah, says the new executives of the new Patriotic Party that will take over from the current administration have a task of putting smiles on the faces of their grassroots. He says there seems to be some level of disconnect between the party and the grassroots that could threaten the party's desire to win the 2024 elections. Speaking on the sidelines of the conference of the NPP in the Mfantsiman constituency in the Central Region, the NPP chairman, Aspirant, noted opportunities ought to be created for the grassroots in order to satisfy themselves that they could break the 8. Richard Kwejenyako again has more for us in this report.
The NPP's delegate conference afforded the party the opportunity to account to its members by taking stock of the happenings over the period. There were opportunities for members to ask questions for the executives to provide answers. Many of the questions centered around jobs and the break in communication between the party and the grassroots. Speaking on the sidelines of the conference at Sorpon, Director General of the State Interest and Governance Authority, Stephen Asamoah, who is aspiring to be national chairman of the new Patriotic Party, intimated the party has a lot of work to do after its elections.
Once the elections are probably over by next year, say August or September, we still have a government which belongs to us, which is an MPP government for about 2.5 more years before we enter the election period. Meaning that whoever becomes the chairman or the secretary or the organizer or the women organizer, whatever, must engage the government very quickly and find out what do we do to bridge that gap, both communication as well as both opportunities. Once you do that, then they are encouraged that yes, they can have the stomach to go and win the election. So there's a 2-year window that we need to engage the grassroots. This is where I'm coming strong from. With my background as a local government minister, information minister, tourism minister, I got to go on the ground, and then people must know that you relate to them well, so that when they're talking to you, they know there's an accessible leadership. Then whenever they see you moving, they come with you. And then of course the opportunity that you give to them, even if they haven't got it, they know it exists. And once we can bring the it, then they know the opportunity is still more available.
Nonetheless, he believes the conference has eased some of the pressures and the tensions on the party and would re-energize the party towards the party's goal of breaking the eight.
But then we need to get them to be active with the party and then understand how the leadership, because if there's a disconnect, that's when you have a problems like this. But I'm encouraged that MPP is ready and we would try and break the eight, which is not going to be easy, but with good leadership and a good structure of the organization and the motivation we give to the grassroots, that we can mobilize them, link up with the presidency and the executive, and we will break the eight and make sure the democracy and the development of the economy by the MPP happens. That's what we are doing now.
MP from Fansaman, Ophelia Mensah charged the party supporters to remain strong and steadfast, assuring them that the party would meet them at the point of their needs. Reporting for Joy News, Richard Kwejenyakon, Sword Pond.
We're taking a quick break. When we come back, we'll bring you some business news and some sports before the end of this bulletin. Don't go anywhere.
Hello and welcome to Business. My name is Darryl Kwao. As a way of ensuring harmony in the petroleum downstream sector, the Energy Ministry has directed the National Petroleum Authority to revisit stalled negotiations amongst the regulator, tanker drivers and other stakeholders. This follows years of agitation over salary increment, welfare, transit losses, amongst other issues hampering their work. Chief Director at the Energy Ministry, Lawrence Apasi, tells Joy Business the Sector Minister, Matthew Opoku-Prempeh, wants the issues resolved. There is more in the following report.
For years, tanker drivers have been agitating over salary increments, welfare, transit losses, among other issues. Getting these concerns addressed became a tussle with NPA, and this affected the warm relationship between the drivers and the regulator. Chief Director at the Energy Ministry, Lawrence Apasi, says the ministry, acknowledging the importance of tanker drivers in the petroleum sector, wants these concerns addressed. He represented Sector Minister Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh at the recent swearing-in of executives of Ghana National Petroleum Tanker Drivers Union at PON, here in Greater Accra.
One of them is the salaries of these tanker drivers, the relationship between the drivers and the owners of the tankers, and also we have the issues of tax evasion and all that, and then dumping of fuel meant for a particular place, they go and dump it at a different place. All these are issues that people in the downstream are saddled with. And I'm saying that the ministry has directed MPA to sit down with various stakeholders and ensure that these things are well streamlined.
Speaking on behalf of Chief Executive Dr. Mustafa Abdulhamid, Director for Policy Coordination at NPA, Jacob Asamoah, says they are in talks with Employment and Labour Relations Ministry. This is in respect to stalled negotiations over the driver's salary.
Also, the NPA is working with the Ministry of Employment and Labour Relations to revive the stalled negotiations that hitherto was going on in respect of the driver's salary. And we expect that with the new interventions going on, this issue will be resolved comprehensively. We believe that all these issues of concern to the Tanker Drivers Union will be settled appropriately.
Meanwhile, JoyNews, who retains his seat as chairman of the Ghana National Petroleum Tanker Drivers Union, indicates there are still issues with salary.
Of office in the first term, no, we negotiate with the transporters and MPA as well. So it has been increased from 1,000 Ghana to 1,700. Yes, and in the MPA rules and regulation, the agreement that we sign, anytime that UPPF fleet has been increased, then driver salary will also be increased because our salary has been factored into the UPPF fleet. But some of the opinion leaders don't want us to know how much it has been factored in the UPPF fleet. You get the point? Yeah, because it's very, very hard for a tanker driver to be driving this hazardous product on the road, and then at the end of the month you gave him 1,000 cedis, 300 or 500 Ghana cedis for today, which is unfair.
For the new executive body, retirement package for the tanker drivers remains a priority. Kwame Yankers reports for Joy Business.
Now, although the COVID-19 pandemic has not significantly affected the construction sector, the Ghana Real Estate Developers Association, GREDA, says housing demand from the diaspora and first-time visitors to Ghana has seen a boost. It says many like to self-isolate in the comfort of their facilities when they arrive in Ghana. First Vice President of GREDA, Stephen Ablometi Deborah, says some members benefited from this development. He was speaking to us ahead of this year's EcoBank JoyNews Habitat Fair.
I would say that from GREDA's perspective, the demand for housing has still been very, very increasing, because if you look at the effective demand, which is about 30% of the deficit, which is over 2 million right now, it keeps on increasing from time to time. COVID has not really affected demand for houses. Rather, what has happened is that, in the past, people who live abroad, when they are coming home, they can comfortably come and visit family and friends, stay there for a week, two, and go back. But during the pandemic, a lot of people were closing their homes to some of these people. So then it brought the attention to people that they need to own their own homes. So there have been fairly an increment in terms of inquiries for people to buy properties that belongs to them. So yes, it's still working and really working very well.
So we could say that presented you a good opportunity as a housing, as a trader.
Yeah, it did, absolutely. Yes, it did.
You benefited from it?
Very much so, very much so.
But still, with the indigents, those who haven't traveled, but they still have the need for housing, what is the way forward?
It's about having a very cheap mortgage facility so that people will be able to own property. You realize that most people in Ghana are earning under 4,000 Ghana cedis. And the cheapest affordable house you will find on the market is about 100,000 Ghana cedis, which means that the individual, if he's going to service a mortgage, which he will buy a house that is 100,000, he will need to pay up to about 50%, having paid taxes and other things, to be able to sustain servicing that mortgage. So it's apparently very difficult for people to be able to buy if your income stream is very low. So the way forward is you either have to jump on the incremental build wagon, or you try to just get maybe yourself, your spouse, and then you double up your income so that you'll be able to qualify for these mortgages and be able to own a home.
And that's business. Oreko is coming up next with sports. Stay tuned.